John Cole with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. I'm traveling. I'm here in Warren, Vermont. I think almost out in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea where I am. I just followed my GPS to get here, and where we're at is actually we're at the Kingsbury Market Garden, and they sell their produce through CSA, the Muddy Boots CSA, some other CSAs, as well as local outlets. And the reason why I'm here today is to actually share with you guys a different kind of farm or garden than I normally visit, because this is a commercial operation, you know, driven by profit to make money. Because if this guy, the owner, Aaron, doesn't make money, he doesn't make a living, he can't pay his mortgage and all this kind of stuff. So I want to share with you guys some of his growing practices that allows him to be successful, whether you want to, you know, have your own farm, be successful, or whether you're just a home gardener. You can glean knowledge from this information to adjust what you're doing so that you can be successful as Aaron. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the fertility that he brings to the land here. I mean, it's next to a river with silty and sandy soil that's definitely not optimal, but he has been bringing in and adding fertility through local inexpensive resources to build fertility at the lowest cost so he can keep, you know, his profits up. So that's what I want to share with you guys first, what he uses to fertilize and add nutrients to his garden. So let's go ahead and check it out. I think we got some piles right over here. So this is the fertility that he uses primarily, right? He wants to get local resources and use them on the farm here so that there's minimal inputs or minimal cost for these inputs. Number one, he uses these guys. This is actually the wood chips. So the wood chips, he gets dumped here by arborists that need to get rid of them and normally would dump them. In the olden days, actually, there's an area over near the farm where actually people would just dump the chips, and it would just build up and build up over time, and then he would actually harvest the well-decomposed wood chips for a good fungal-rich compost. So he continues to add wood chips for this fungal activity, but also for the carbon that the wood chips contain. Now, more than just the wood chips, another thing that he uses that actually we don't have any piles of, thank God, it's actually the chicken manure. So that stuff would stink, and he says it's composted chicken manure, so we don't have any raw stuff to show you. That's two. And so then you got the carbon source, you got a nitrogen source in the manure, and then you got this source right here. And this is the stuff that really he's banking on, and really he believes made a difference in his garden. This stuff is known as the Bricks Blend Rock Dust by Rock Dust Local, which he gets delivered here, I know, like under $70 a ton. So he gets a lot of this stuff, and he's been adding this to his soil for the last, I don't know, some odd 4 years. He's been farming on this property for like 5 years, something like that. So he's been using it almost from the beginning, and he has seen a difference in his growth because this soil is not so fertile. And he believes by making fertile soil, and from what he's seen, he's getting higher yields and less disease on his land so that he can be more productive and, more importantly, more profitable. So once he's got these three inputs, what he does, he actually combines them over here. And there's conveniently a parking sign. But basically, he combines the rock dust here on top with the wood chips, with the manure, so it's all, you know, mixed and homogenized together, and it composts, and then he spreads this out on his fields, you know, maybe usually in the fall or something like that. And this adds some of the fertility, plus he also uses some foliar sprays of fish emulsion and some other minerals as needed, Epsom salts, to add further trace minerals into his plants so they could grow healthy, because he's firmly a believer in the power of trace minerals. He believes, unlike standard organic farming and gardening, that compost is the answer. You know, just keep throwing on compost, everything will work itself out. Well, I've seen challenges where, you know, just adding compost and compost and compost, especially if it's not a good quality compost, can cause challenges, and you're not going to get the best growth. He believes that by adding the minerals, you know, the plants are going to be healthy because of it. And actually, after walking through some of his garden, you know, I could definitely vouch for that, because of all the farms and gardens I visited in my time in Vermont, this one truly looks like the healthiest by far. So what I want to do next for you guys is actually walk through and show you guys just some of the fields, some of the crops he's growing, how good they look, and just the production he's able to achieve here in Vermont. So here you guys are seeing like a nice couple rows of carrots, and he really packs these guys in really tight, you know, tighter than you would normally plant carrots. And actually these are some hybrid carrots that's growing really well. Now he's not quite ready to harvest these guys yet, but you can still harvest them and pick them. And check this guy out. We could pull this guy out of the ground. Look at that, that's one nice, beautiful carrot. Now, he is growing hybrid style carrots, and you know, although he is certified organic, you know, there is an organic standard that says to be organic certified, you have to grow minimum 51% of crops grown with organic seeds, but the other 49% or smaller percentage can be from conventional seed stock if they're not available organic. So that's what he does, you know, and I want to encourage you guys, whether you're a market grower like Aaron here, or whether you're a home gardener, you want to pick the right varieties, because growing the right variety of crop can make you or break you. And as much as I like the heirlooms for certain traits, right, which are perfect for home gardeners, on a commercial scale, after talking with Aaron, you know, it's becoming evident to me that, you know, the heirlooms are not always the best crops to grow, you know, for him, from the trials that he's done. So, you know, like these carrots here are more resistant to certain diseases that he would be prone to getting. Plus with the rich soil, you know, he doesn't have any diseases on these carrots. I mean, these carrots look absolutely beautiful. And we're gonna go ahead and taste test it. Man, I can vouch, that's one sweet, delicious carrot. I think it's the best one I've ever had in Vermont. Hey, I think it's the only carrot I've ever had in Vermont. So what we're looking at now is actually some of the beets planted next to the carrots. And actually one of the cool things is that, you know, when Aaron moved on to this farm and started farming this land, he actually couldn't grow beets because it would get a lot of disease and problems. And I'm sure some of you guys out there have problems with growing some crops. It just never seems to work. And, you know, once he started adding the rock dust and building his soil, you know, he didn't have a problem, and these beets look fabulous. And check it out. I mean, this is the soil right here. We could pick this up. Look at that. I mean, this is like sand. Not very nutritious, but he's adding the right minerals to allow him to do this. Now, the other thing about Aaron is if you look at this field next door, you'll see these nice, huge, big tractor tracks. Now, as much as I like the no-till gardening style, I want to always let you guys know that there are pros and cons to every gardening method. You know, he uses the tilling method, and he has a couple, 3, maybe 4 tractors now, and he really cuts his labor costs to a minimum because he's like fully automated. He also is very efficient in how he works. So he has minimal labor working at this farm with him. And just with a man and a tractor, and I just saw him drive off right now, almost into the sunset, he's able to, you know, manage this farm with little labor costs, you know, as compared to farmers I've spoken to that do the no-till, and actually their labor cost is sky high, but because they do no-till, their labor costs are sky high, they're also more productive than this may be. They still make good money. But Aaron wants to keep it simple, and you know, he does the tractor, the tillage, and continues to add organic matter and the trace minerals in the soil, and gets amazing results. So no matter where you guys are at, you guys got to figure out what's right for you. Now, for environmental reasons and for nutrient reasons, I believe still no-tilling is the best. But yes, it's going to be more labor, and this really comes into play in a big business when you're trying to run a business. And if you're at home just gardening, you know, I definitely believe you guys should be doing no-till gardening at home on definitely smaller scales, because it's a lot easier. Anyways, I want to go in now into some of the hoop houses here. That's right behind me, and show you guys what he's got growing. Now, he uses these hoop houses because I want to remind you guys that, you know, we are in Vermont. It does rain a lot. And, you know, some of the peppers and tomatoes, they don't like too much water, so they keep the water off of it. Plus, they can control the environment better, so it's warmer inside the hoop house than outside, because some of these plants, like especially the basil, like a little bit warmer. They also got some tomatillos growing. In addition, this also allows them to start the season earlier and end a little bit later due to the covering overhead. And once again, I visited a handful of farms this trip to Vermont, and Aaron's stuff looks like the healthiest, most bountiful due to his practices, so they must be working. But if we walk down this row here, I mean, you guys just see a lot of greenery there, but I want to like duck down low, and if we get a little bit lower, I mean, if you look closely, you can look at that, look real closely. You guys see all the peppers. I mean, this thing is loaded up with peppers. I mean, I'm scared to say that actually these pepper plants are more loaded up than my pepper plants. So he's actually growing better peppers than I. So, I mean, this is really impressive just how much yield he's able to harvest off each plant when you give the plant the right nutrition they need. So yeah, that's pretty much this whole thing. Has like a lot of peppers in these two rows, some basil, tomatillos. And let's go ahead and go into the other greenhouse to share with you guys the tomatoes. So now we're in the hoop house with the tomatoes, and these plants look like they're super healthy, super vibrant. And once again, just come down a little bit and look at this. Look at how much yield you could get on one tomato plant, growing the right variety and actually having good nutrition in the soil. I mean, does this look better than your tomatoes? Well, that's why Aaron's in business and does this for a living, because he's doing this day in, day out. And he's been doing this since his first job. His first job as a kid was, guess what? Working on a farm. And he's grown all these years, and he's been improving his skills over the years, so now he could grow healthy plants like this. Now, I'll let you guys know one of his secrets besides having good soil. He has this red mulch down here at the bottom on his tomatoes. I haven't seen that anywhere else on the farm. He uses some black plastic mulch on some other plants. But the other thing is that he's using grafted tomatoes. So these tomatoes have been grafted. They're on a wild rootstock with tomato plants up top, and he says they are more productive and more resistant than standard ones. So you guys might want to look into that. I know, I've experimented with the grafted tomatoes before. They're kind of a little bit expensive, and I didn't notice too much of a difference, when I grew them at home. But he totally vouches for them and says, he wouldn't really go any other way, because as you guys can see, I mean, this is tomato heaven right here. So now we're going to go ahead and enter another pepper hoop house here, and these are a different kind of peppers. And Aaron really features and focuses on growing the peppers for a few reasons. Number one, you guys can see there's lots of peppers on here, and he appreciates peppers as he actually grows less tomatoes than peppers. He grows more peppers than tomatoes, and I want to encourage you guys to grow more peppers than tomatoes. So he sells these fresh, which command a greater dollar than the tomatoes. But the secret on why he grows so many peppers is because he also roasts them and then freezes them. So this allows him to maximize his income during the winter months, so he could harvest these guys, process them, and then sell them throughout the winter to still have an income when other farmers that are growing, fresh vegetables and trying to sell fresh stuff are long gone. So that's one of the reasons why he grows all these peppers. And these plants, they just simply look amazing. I wish I had all these peppers. I could grow more in less space if I used his techniques. So another thing I want to share with you guys real quick is, how Aaron is staking up his peppers. He doesn't stake every plant, so this is kind of cool. What he does, he just puts these stakes in about every, a couple, 3-4 feet, and he basically just ties some string, to make like a little fence on the edges, because the middle plant supports itself and the edge plants are held up by the string to stay out of the walkways. So it looks like he has only actually per bed, which is about 2 feet wide, he has about 2 plants, so the strings help hold the plant, keep them in, growing towards the center, so that he could easily get in there and harvest all the delicious peppers. So I want to always encourage you guys to grow vertically and use some kind of support system that works for you, so that your plants don't fall over and they don't get crushed or stems broken, when you're walking by, because that will cut your yields. So another way Aaron improves his soil and brings and adds fertility is by planting some cover crops. So we got some legume crops here behind me. He also likes to plant the buckwheat, which is also a good beneficial plant for insects. And he builds fertility in his soil by planting the cover crops and then turning them under to add more fertility to his soil. Now, on a big farm, I think this is an excellent idea, especially when you have so much land. You have fallow land that's not always planted. I mean, he has like 6 acres under cultivation in this space, plus he has another off-site, space that he's growing food. But in a home space, like for me personally, I live in a standard American tract home. My lot is less than 10,000 square feet, 8,000 square feet, and I don't have a lot of room. So if I'm planting cover crops, that means I'm giving up space that I could be growing food crops. And the most important thing for me to do is to eat. And I would rather bring in inputs to add to my garden, to add the nitrogen, add nutrients as I need to, instead of, in my opinion, waste space for cover crops, in confined, growing like I'm in. So anyways, I think I want to go over to one more section of his farm where he's actually growing some lettuce mixes and show you guys how he's doing it and how beautiful it looks. So these are the baby salad greens that they grow here on the farm. They basically plant these guys all mechanically, and they seed them really closely, and basically then come through with a harvester and just harvest them and clear cut them. And then after they clear cut them, then they grow back again. And Aaron believes that this is due to the fertility in the soil. A lot of growers will grow stuff, they'll cut it and it will not come back. But because of the fertility, Aaron believes the stuff comes back, so he could actually continually harvest, more and get more yield out of the same amount of space. So he has things like the, really good looking spinach and lettuces and different color lettuces, and it just looks really cool how he has it all laid out. That being said, this is pretty labor intensive for him. He'd rather grow some carrots where you literally, plant something once, it grows, then you harvest it. So it's like minimal time, like dealing with the crops. Here he has to come out like every couple days, plant new seeds, having the next round growing, come out with a harvester. He has to harvest the stuff, take it inside to wash it and process it, bag it, and the carrots you just take out, wash, sell them, and they're done, right? So he's really trying to get more efficient, and hopefully one day he'll be able to actually cut out and get out of the leafy green biz and get into things that he can be more efficient at and still make as much or even more money from, because after all, this is a business for him, and that's what it comes down to, dollars and cents. Another part of Aaron's operation that I really want to show you guys here is actually how he runs his after harvest processing. He has a couple cool tools that I've never seen before in my life. So I want to share with you guys that and how they work, and and how he's more efficient even in after harvest and processing the produce he offers to the public. So now I want to show you guys in one of these greenhouses here, and he has tomatoes growing in the back, but in the front this is a part of his processing area. And basically he's got a lot of onions and shallots, and you can see some shallots here. He's got onions over there, and he's got some machinery, some of it actually kind of old, that still works, to save him time. So for example, this machine right here, you don't want to get your finger stuck in this one for sure. This is an onion topper. It takes that top, off the onions. If you put it in here, just literally pulls them all out. Because I do this by hand, but I don't have a ton of onions, literally, like he does. So once he pulls off the tops, then he has this old school machine here, that's an onion bagger. So it basically rolls up the top here, and then he bags up his onions in a bag so that he can sell them at market. And you can see, so here's a ton of onions that are now harvested, topped, and awaiting to be bagged, and then being able to get sold. And he really likes the onions because the onions you see here, he has, a couple pallets full of them will store. They'll store a full year, and he will not lose his investment in his time, the nutrients he's put in the fertilizer, or anything with the onions. Whereas, the tomatoes, they go bad relatively quickly, and if they're not sold and he doesn't dehydrate them into sun-dried tomatoes, he's going to lose his investment. So as with the peppers, he actually he could sell them fresh, or he could actually roast them, and then he freezes them, and then he can sell them throughout the winter time. I want to go actually into his little shop there, where he actually does some of the other processing, and show you guys some of the cool equipment he uses and how he's actually quite efficient in his setup. So when I come to farms and visit people's gardens all over when I travel, I always learn something new. And probably the most important thing I learned here is, a few things. Number one, if we just come over here, he actually has washing machines that he uses to spin dry his salad greens that he sells, the fresh cut salad greens that you guys saw. And even more important than that, that he uses these to, spin his salad greens. He actually has all these on wheels. So these could move in, move out, and if you notice, everything in this room is actually on wheels. So he can set up this room the way he wants to. Some days it's processing the greens, some days it's processing carrots, some days it's used as a CSA pickup, some days it's used to make tacos and all this kind of stuff. And it's really cool that he's put everything on wheels. And he has another motto, and you guys can see these shelves like neatly built above. If something is not used every day, it doesn't even belong in this room, it belongs somewhere else off-site. If something is used every day, it needs to be a little bit higher up. And if it doesn't get used maybe but once a week, it's even yet higher up. And things that are used not as often are even higher up. And this is a way that I believe I should probably organize my house. You guys might want to organize your house, and even minimally your garage or your garden storage shed. This will make things a lot easier. And try to keep your space clean, put things on wheels so you can move them in and out of the way so you can have maximum flexibility with your space. I think I want to head outside now and show you one more cool tool that Aaron uses to save time here on the farm. So here's yet another tool that Aaron uses to save time on his farm and be more efficient so he can save labor costs. Instead of having like one man just spray down carrots like most farms might do, he actually has a specialized tool to do carrot washing. No, this is not a compost sieve or tumbler or anything like that. This is basically just a large wood slat that actually spin around, and it takes the carrots in there and will wash all the dirt off with the water coming out of this PVC pipes. The dirt goes into the bottom, which then gets washed down, and then he actually adds that back into his farm, and the carrots come out the other end clean. Once the carrots come out, he has a little conveyor belt thing that rotates the carrots so he can easily identify carrots that are bad or good and pull all the bad carrots with bad spots so that they don't make it into the ones that are being sold to the customers. So I really like that Aaron's really working efficient here, not only with post-harvest but also pre-harvest. I mean, one of the most efficient things I believe gardeners at home and farmers could do is add the rock dust, because it takes some of the workload off you, and this is what he has found. And this is why I want you guys, whether you're a commercial farmer, you're a home gardener, to start using the rock dust. What I want to do next is actually interview Aaron and share with you guys some of his things he's learned about rock dust, some of the tips and techniques he's learned over the years farming since he was a young lad, farming, so that you guys can improve your garden or your commercial operation should you own one. So now we're with Aaron Locker from Kingsbury Market Garden, and he's the owner and also the farmer here that you guys got to saw this amazing garden. I want to go ahead and take him aside and talk to him about a few things. The first of which actually is, Aaron, where are we at right now? I mean, we're on your property, right? This is part of the farm. You have a beautiful, like, river, stream?
Yeah, so this is the Mad River.
It's mad.
Well, right now it's pretty calm, but it gets mad from time to time. Yeah, it's a very narrow drainage in here, so it's not uncommon, if you get a couple inches of rain, for this water, the level of this river to go up several feet and then back down over the course of a day.
Wow, several feet. Wow.
Yep.
So this probably affected like the quality, because this river's been here probably a long time, and this affects your farm, because a lot of the stuff in your farm is like the silty like stuff that was probably deposited by the river thousands of years ago potentially.
Yep, yeah, stuff that washed off of the mountainsides.
Yeah, so you were telling me that your farm is not that really like fertile, so you've actually had to bring in things, and I showed you guys what he's using. So I specifically want to ask you about bringing in the rock dust, and why you chose to bring in the rock dust, and what you saw before the rock dust and after using the rock dust.
Well, I chose to bring in rock dust because I felt like I needed to do something aside from adding compost and fertilizer, which is what I wasn't having very good luck with. And read some things about nutrient-dense farming, about balancing nutrients, and particularly about trace elements like cobalt, molybdenum, boron, things like that. So 4 years ago now, I did my first rock dust application, 3 different rock dusts, 10 tons to the acre of each.
Wow.
And now starting like my second round with 10 ton to the acre load of Tom Vanacor's Bricks Blend Basalt. Next year, I think it'll be some quartzite from Moncton, which is just over the mountains here, and then probably some shale finds from the Catskills the year after that.
Well, yeah, so he's using different kinds of rock dust that all have different levels of different minerals to, balance out his soil. So how important is that for you, that your soil has a balance of minerals in the right proportions, for your plant growth?
Yeah, so I think that the idea behind this rock dust is that you're applying relatively large amounts of relatively unavailable nutrients. So you're building mineral depth. Conventional agriculture and conventional organic agriculture, you tend to apply relatively small amounts of relatively available nutrients. So the thought is that, like, once I apply the Moncton quartzite, which has high levels of potassium in relatively unavailable forms, that it'll slowly be available to plants versus like sulfomag or sulfate of potash that has readily available potassium in it that would not necessarily be, could be way too available, could leach. Leaching is a big issue here with our sandy soils, but basically the idea is to make it so that plants can exude their acids and etch away at the potassium and make it available instead of have just like kind of free flowing in the soil. What's the word in the soil solution?
Yeah, so I mean, like, he does not use any water-soluble nutrients because obviously he has a river right here, and if he uses water-soluble nutrients like many conventional agriculture do, chemical nitrogens and all this stuff, there's getting contamination and runoffs are wrecking water supplies and contaminating places. So I'm really glad that Aaron is, doing gardening and farming the smart way. So Aaron, what differences have you seen from using the rock dust, or do you believe that you've seen from using the rock dust?
Well, I believe that I've seen a big difference from using the rock dust, and a couple of other things. I think the rock dust is a big part of it. And just health, the health of my produce. I have very few diseases anymore, fungal diseases. I don't have really very many pest issues. Things are brighter, they grow faster, they're heavier, they tend to taste better, I think. And yields have gone up significantly.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen really healthy stuff here at his farm. I've tasted some spinach, some carrots, and they're absolutely good. I guess the other thing I want to ask you is, would you recommend, for people out there like farmers or even home gardeners to use the rock dust?
Yeah, I absolutely would. One of the things that's really interesting about it is that the price per pound, I mean, you look at like different nutrients, like for instance, the berry granite, which is a local granite source that's high in potassium, it ends up being like 20 cents a pound.
Wow.
Versus like, maybe $1 a pound in like sulfate of potash form. So it's a really good bang for the buck as long as you're able to make that long-term investment in your soil health, which I think is really what makes sustainable agriculture is that you're able to use, and I guess it's still not really sustainable because it's a byproduct of the mining industry, but it's still a relatively available byproduct, and it's also the kind of thing that will have an effect for a long period of time. So it's not a reaction. It's not a reactionary thing at all. It's a very proactive approach, which is, I think, the way that I want to do things.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think a proactive approach in life is really good. Before you get a heart attack, stop eating the things that'll cause a heart attack. Eat fruits and vegetables like the ones Aaron grows here, highest quality, so you could, not eat the bad things and displace the bad stuff, and just like, grow a garden not using the chemical fertilizers that, give you an instant reaction, but then have negative consequences, in my opinion. Use something more long-lasting, and what I believe Aaron is doing is even beyond sustainable because he's actually regenerating. The land here is better than when he came. Do you have any comments about that?
No, I think that's true.
Yeah.
It's definitely true, and that's like I pride myself on that. And it makes my life it makes my life a lot easier. And I've got hopefully another couple decades of farming this property, and I'd like to think that it'll continue to be that way. That I'll continue to have really good tasting carrots that every mom in the town wants to feed their kids, and that will allow me to grow old farming, basically.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is really the new farming. You know, chemicals, in my opinion, GMOs, they're not the answer. It's getting back to roots. I mean, the old school days, they used things like biochar and rock powders to mineralize the soil, but we've lost all this knowledge and all this stuff. And I know many of you guys may not even ever heard of rock dust, maybe even before this video, which is quite sad. But another thing I want to talk to you about, Aaron, that you know, that you're really into, and a lot of my viewers may think hybrids are evil. I personally think any plant that is not genetically modified through man-made artificial means is good, like whether it's hybrids or heirlooms. I don't think there should be this fight, because there's more important fish to fry or whatever they say. But you know, why do you choose to use, you know, some hybrids in your production, and how has that made you more profitable actually?
Well, so a perfect example, I think, is determinant habits on things like tomatoes and to some degree even pepper plants. Like, we're here in Vermont, I got a 120-day growing season.
Yeah, it's too short.
So to grow an indeterminate tomato plant that's gonna, you know, be 10 feet tall and have the potential to have like 25 pounds of tomatoes on there, but September 20th comes and I get a frost, and I pick the first 10 pounds, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm more choosing to grow determinate tomatoes that grow to about, you know, chin height and put out a lot of tomatoes, and then they're going to pretty much be done by the time the frost gets them also. And I'm choosing peppers that tend to have more of a determinate habit, so I actually get more fruit, because like, no matter how nutrient dense my produce is, once it gets into the 20s, it's going to die. And so I want to be able to harvest as much as I possibly can.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I always want to encourage you guys to not only have the most nutritious soil, but also grow the plants that are going to do well in your area. That's something that a lot of people miss. If you just go down and buy plants from your local nursery or big box store, you know, you might not be getting the exact right ones that are going to do the best and perform the best, so that you and your family could eat, you know, more at a garden than out of the grocery store. And speaking of grocery stores, where can people buy this produce that I've tasted that is absolutely amazing?
Well, it's just basically here in Vermont, for the most part. I sell the Mehuron's Market, our local independent supermarket, East Warren Community Market, our local co-op, a couple of restaurants around here, and through 2 CSA programs, one of which I'm a part owner in.
Oh.
And they go, primarily the stuff goes around the Boston area.
So yeah, if you live in Boston, you're lucky you could get some of this good stuff that Aaron is growing. So Aaron, do you have any last comments you'd like to share, messages out to my viewers to, you know, about anything having to do with gardening, farming, or maybe the direction the industry should be going, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I don't really like to speak on the industry so much, but I would like to say that you know, this whole rock dust thing, this whole remineralization thing, is really the best way to get the highest quality produce that you can. And I do think, well, from the industry perspective, it's going to eventually, I think it's going to go this way, where they're going to be able to tell you what kind of quality it is. Like, they're going to say these carrots are a Brix 10 carat,
Yep.
or they're a Brix 14 carat. And that's going to be fantastic, because you're going to go into the supermarket and be like, oh, these apples are really better for me, and it's proven. In the short term, the way that you can do that is by applying lots of organic matter, lots of rock dust to your home garden, around your fruit orchards, around your raspberries, all that kind of stuff, and yeah, and grow some really high quality food.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend doing what he's saying, and I totally believe it's true. You know, I mean, I also want to encourage you guys to go out and get a Brix meter. I have episodes where I actually tested Brix from, you know, watermelons from my local, you know, farmers markets, and actually they weren't that good, and the ones at Whole Foods were better, which was kind of insane, because not all farmers know what they're doing, and I'm glad Aaron is one of the people that knows what he's doing. So I hope this video goes out to even some farmers that are watching this and works to improve the quality of the stuff they're growing, because not all of it is good. I mean, there's a lot of crap out there, and you know, most farming is done for profit. I mean, this is Aaron's life. This is his business. He needs to make money, or he's gonna go out of business, because this is his life. And so he's really doing the smart things. You know, as you guys saw, he's using some really cool techniques and being efficient with his time, his labor, and also, you know, efficient with his soil by adding the rock dust. And I believe you guys should also be efficient as you guys can in your garden and as well as with your soil. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, me here at the farm with Aaron, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know. I'll be sure to come back and visit Aaron next time I'm in town to see how his farm is doing in the future. Also be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 1,100 episodes now on all aspects of growing food at home, especially when I get to visit farms like this, which I learn a lot of stuff too. And be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you get updates and notified when I put new and exciting episodes out. I usually try to get an episode out every 3 days for you guys. So once again, this is John Kohler coming at you from Vermont. And we'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep on growing. All right, this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com today with another exciting episode for you. And where I'm at, I'm actually still in Burlington, Vermont, and today I'm visiting the Intervale Center. You may have saw just the previous episode at Gardener Supply, which is actually on this property. This is over 300 acres of property, and it's run by a non-profit to support local food, you know, land issues, and also the people. So actually I want to go over to the little information area and share with you guys more about the Intervale Center